Welcome to Spoiler Talk, where we talk spoilers. This week we watched Under the Skin, so I will begin by asking you, Jax, what did you think of Under the Skin?
Alright, so I've heard about this movie forever. Back when I was in high school, I love creepy, gross movies. I love cheap movies. I love just practical effects and monsters and disgusting stuff. I have no fucking idea how I didn't see this movie. Because this would have been my favorite movie ever when I was young. I love everything about it. Now, stalker, like, character that's gonna put people in their van and then kill them kind of story. I'm just not as gravitated towards that. And like, yeah, just that kind of thing. But this is the creepiest, scariest, weirdest. It's just one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. It's so kind of basic and simple that for me, it's like, it really is enough. And then it has two moments in the movie, like half an hour in and then right at the end, that are just, wow, like the greatest things I've ever seen. Just so, yeah, but also kind of like, it's like a bit boring sometimes.
Yeah.
Just a bit like, I don't know, the music's the greatest thing ever. Scarlett Johansson's like perfect. It's just like her being talking, like, oh, so you do live alone? Oh, you don't live alone? And just drive it. Just really like, I don't know. It's like, she's such a big actress, and I feel like just because I've been so obsessed with Marvel as it's come out, she's so tied to that. But then it's like, you know, you watch Marriage Story and like, oh my god, she's like actually the greatest actress. That's why she's in everything. Because in those big movies, they're like, we want to get something out of there, you know?
Yeah.
And often they don't really, I feel like. I don't know, but this is probably my favorite performance with her. Up there with Her, like the movie Her, where she plays the mobile phone. This felt the same like that in terms of just being like watching someone who's just so famous that like in that movie, she's a phone, but it's her voice. It's iconic as. But then she just takes me so much further than I thought she could. It's kind of in Marriage Story. I don't know. She's so good. I love that, like, yeah, I don't know. I love that she's able to do so much by being so nothing. But then I kind of feel like there's so little that a lot of, like, I don't know. I feel like I just kind of almost wish I knew that ending was going to be as fantastic as it was, and that the alien reveal would be my favorite thing I've ever seen, because it's just weird. And just, I don't know, I just was so overwhelmed by that like, yeah, I don't know. I'm really mixed on how I feel, because like, this movie is a movie that did Get Out before Get Out did its weird black hole thing, and then like Stranger Things stole it, and I just feel like a lot of things stole that visual element. So when it cut into that world, I was like, awesome.
So for me, it's the complete reverse. It's like everything stole this from Under the Skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like the order...
Oh, you saw them like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The order in which you watch them obviously affects... Like, it feels like Stranger Things kind of built off and Get Out built off this.
Yeah.
Maybe the filmmakers never even watched it. It's a vague enough idea that multiple people can come up with it, but it also feels very much like...
As soon as it started, I was like, oh, Get Out. Why isn't the whole story about Get Out being like, you just stole that from Under the Skin? Because that's all it did. Everything about the way he's like... and she's like, oh, bye-bye, you're in the nighttime world. And he's like... It's like the scene in Under the Skin where you finally go under, and he's like, they're just... It's so much better in Under the Skin.
It is,
The difference is like in Under the Skin, when it goes in there, at first you're like, where are we? What are we? And there's this...
Get Out is like the Hollywood version of that idea, that trope, that whatever you want to call it.
Under the Skin is so, like, this film is so disgusting. Like at the bit where the guy's like, when it first comes into the darkness world, and he's just got that, he's just walking, and he's in that trance. We got to a wide, and it's like, I could be wrong with this. I could be 100% wrong. But I'm pretty sure that's the first erect penis I've seen in a movie. Because I was just like, you even allowed to show that? I thought there was a rule where you couldn't show that. Yeah. And that's why you have so many scenes in movies where they've just had sex, and then they're just like, not hard anymore. They're just completely not hard. And there's things where you just be able to, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, they're always placid just like that. Like, and even beforehand, and it's just, I think in film, I always thought you weren't allowed to show, or people,
I can't even remember.
It would hit it up to an R rating.
Was it erect?
Yeah, I feel like it was, because I just remember being like, wow, it's just such a image of like, kind of like, it was just so off, man. Like, I don't know, if you were to tell me, because I didn't know Scarlett Johansson was going to be all naked in this. If you were to tell me Scarlett Johansson's going to get naked in the whole movie, and
Also,
only,
I think the only movie she has
yeah,
done nudity
definitely,
for,
because
yeah?
it was so shocking. I was like, but she's like
That's-
an A-list celebrity.
Yeah.
It just, I don't, not that
This
it's-
was a very
it doesn't-
sought after role. Apparently, a lot of actresses were clamoring to do this because there is a fair amount of, I guess you would say, experimental filmmaking here. There's lots of hidden camera, real world. Like she literally got in a van covered in hidden cameras and drove around and picked real people up.
So yeah, so like, okay, so that was an aspect of the film that I actually think was kind of either the most intriguing, but then it would suddenly just, I don't know, suddenly I was just like, I don't know. I feel like my skeptical mind, or my mind becomes more like skeptical and like pessimistic about just things.
About it being real?
I honestly, man, you say that, I feel like I talked to my brother, I just went to his house beforehand, and he was like, oh yeah, it was like the one where she goes and picks real people up or something, right? And I'm like, is it though?
I think
because even if the director says it and Scarlett Johansson says it and those actors say, yeah, I didn't know, man. You fucking not recognize the most famous actress in the world? I just don't believe that. I just, as I was watching, they were like, oh, I'm an obviously Scottish guy and this is an improv. And I was just like, I just don't buy it. Because, I couldn't buy into the fact, like the hidden cameras, it felt like I was still watching a movie. And it felt like the documentary feel of it kind of worked, but then what really worked for me was the creepy moments where, like, you know, once we'd seen the underworld, the black lair, it's like either like a weird representation of like her sex or her kill, or if that's her lair or if that's going to her universe or dimension.
Well, they always go up to the top of the building. And that's a common. We always see her going up the stairs.
Yeah, up the stairs into that weird decrepit kind of.
Yeah, in the very beginning of the film, we see lights from, I guess, what we assume is a spaceship dropping or leaving.
There are lights at the start.
Yeah, at the top of the building, kind of circling around and go. It's all very.
Is that what? Yeah. See, I didn't even.
Exactly. It's stuff you pick up on, I think, more on a second watch because you're just kind of experiencing it the first time. It's
like, what am I even
following
looking
a motorcycle rider and there's something off, and then she's taking the clothes off. What I would presume is the last alien that was maybe killed, but I think the idea is that because she has a tear running out of her eye, there must be some importance to that.
Yeah.
That she's learned empathy. And then we watch Scarlett Johansson, Alien, also learn the same thing, and predominantly learn it when she comes into contact with the really disfigured, that's a real guy with a real
I actually
condition.
saw, when I just Googled the film after, I saw just like the actors list and I saw that guy. I was like, because I just presumed it was practical effects and stuff.
It's a fantastic bit in the car where he just pinches his hand and then it cuts back.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I must.
Yeah.
It's such a nice little touch. But I think after she lures him in and then comes down the stairs and she sees a fly on the window, I think that's the turning point for the character.
And then she like looks in the mirror for like 3 minutes.
And she
just staring.
Yeah.
Because I guess when I was first watching it, I was just like, I don't know. I felt like, until the movie ended and I kind of was like, okay. I don't think I was actually tracking where we were with the character. Because I felt like I was just so scared by this sexy, evil alien woman with no emotion that it just the whole film, I was like, this is everyone's, like, it's like a dream but a nightmare at the same time, where it's like as you said, with it's just so like, I don't know. That's why I almost couldn't laugh at that, because it's like, I don't know, this whole movie was just like, oh my god, like she's just walking backwards, slowly taking off clothes, and you're just like in this trance following her, but then suddenly you're like, oh my god, I'm in this black, oh my god, and I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like this is such a basic, like, this is just the most base fear of man when trying to, like, I don't know, meet a woman, or it was so just like, yeah, they're sexy and she's a little nice and fun, and suddenly she's like a spider and you're trapped in a black alien world, and it just was so like
being digested, I suppose. Is that what's going on? And
it also had a weird kind of like going back into the womb and being in this void of like water, because later on when like he's like and like gets sucked in, and has like, so my thought when that happened was, one, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen. Like, because I was like, this,
such a great effect.
The
I
best
don't even
effect.
know how they did it.
I think they inflated a skin body and popped it in water, and it's floating in water.
Sucked
Something out. But I don't know. It was just such a.
I think continuing on what you were saying there, the probably the best word to describe this film, visceral.
Visceral.
Yeah, like it's it's all feeling, it's all
mood. It's the biggest mood piece. I think this is like, I don't know, this whole mood for me was just like, oh, this is sexy. And then like, I don't like this sexy, it's spooky now.
Yeah.
Like, it's just spooky, sexy. Like, because the whole vibe, like at the start, she's just fully naked, and I was just like, oh, Scarlett Johansson's naked. But nothing about it was like, each. It was just kind of like this creepy, unearthly, like it just grossed me out. Like, feels like looking at the nudity in Westworld. That's what it reminded me of. Like seeing the robot.
So explain.
But it's like robots, and they're like, we are slaves because we're robots. It's like you're in a video game, like you're in Red Dead, but they're all robots.
Yeah.
And there's just so many scenes where there's just like women just like standing around naked, and it's just the most unsexual shit you'll ever see in your life.
Right.
And it was really like that show really made me go, this is what I want to do for like Human Inside, with like the herds of naked people and just seeing naked people, but there's just no sexuality. It's just the raw nature of like just what a person is. And I felt like this movie did that a lot, where it's just like a lot of nudity of Scarlett Johansson and of the men, but just nothing sexual about any of it. Like a spooky, eerie feel to it all.
Well, she only ever does what she needs to do to get him in, and sometimes she's clothed and sometimes she isn't, and all it is luring them.
There's that walk, and like the best one is when the guy's at the club dancing, and then it just cuts and he's like dancing in the black thing, and it's like, that's so good. He's like, yeah, and he just keeps doing it until he's like, wait, oh no, I'm in like hell. Oh my god, what is this? And I don't know. When I realized they were all down there gestating, and then like, it kind of reminded me of like, this is like the twisted, perverse version of what the Sarlacc pit would be like.
Oh.
Where you just like 1,000 years. I've seen some images where it's like more like hell. It's like like tentacles and just writhing. But it's like, no, you just go into this big like stomach sack of some sort, and you just be in there with the acid slowly melting away or whatever. I mean, I don't really know how our bodies work. I'm just saying words. But it's like, it's just such a, I don't know. I feel like that, and then at the end when it's like, I'm a skinny black person. Like, but it's like, that like those two moments is so visceral and so strong. But I kind of feel like the documentary parts like don't fall flat, but are a bit just like
redundant.
I don't know. I'm like, I do not buy. I don't care what the director says. I've just spent too long with a job I hate. I don't believe you. I don't believe that they're real. I just can't. That's just right now. I'm sure. I don't know. Does it feel real to you though? It feels staged to me. And every character that had anything that felt more, we then got a kill scene or something. And so there's only a few that can be, because you're not kill scening strangers.
So I think what they did was they just drove around and got as much as they could, and then the initial scenes are real, and then the driving around in the car, the little flirting. The thing that makes me think that the flirting is real is that the guys are really trepidatious, and I think any other like if it's a script, like she's complimenting them and like giving them a little bit, and they, some of the guys are more confident than others.
But no one's like, hey, sexy lady.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't. It's not like a movie thing. They're more like, oh my god,
someone just complimented me.
She's the hottest woman I've ever seen,
and invited me into
a car.
Like even the guy that's a bit cockier is still like.
You're right. Oh my god.
He doesn't even compliment her back. All he does is kind of
takes his hat off and he just kind of like.
He kind of bounces
back.
That was the one I
what
felt
she
like
was
says.
The realist, but then he comes into the house, which made me go, "That's not the real one."
I think. That's what I think happened is that they probably drove around for a long time, got lots, and
then just found someone and went, "Hey,
and they said,
we're doing a movie."
So yeah, you've just been part of this filmmaking.
Punked, you're in a movie.
How did you not know that was Scarlett Johansson? Did you see Avengers last year?
It's not like this movie came out in 2000. Yeah, it's insane. She's so famous. I don't know, maybe that's why I went to Scotland. They're like, they don't get Hollywood. They do. They would definitely.
Yeah,
But it's not that far out. It's not like in the middle of nowhere. Scotland's, I don't know.
Yeah, you would think so, but I think that's probably just all they did was they took the reactions they could get, and then from that they said, all right, we're actually making a movie here. Would you be interested in doing this thing? You do have to do nudity. We'll pay you X, Y, Z. And I think you'd probably find a lot of guys would just be like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess
they probably got a lot of no's too. You know.
I know. Yeah, I don't know. There was just something about it that just.
But the first time I watched the movie, I wasn't aware of it, and it didn't change. I think that the thing that makes it work for me is that if you know it's hitting camera or you don't, I don't think it really makes much of a difference. You know, it just, I guess for me, it felt a little bit more natural watching it this time. Now knowing it's only the second time I've watched the movie, but I would have to say that the scene that affected me the most the first time I watched it.
Affected isn't like emotionally or
just I felt
in a good or bad way.
Very bad. Yeah. I felt ill. The scene on the beach with the kid that she leaves there, and it's when they cut back to the kid and it's nighttime and it's got snot all down his nose and the kid is just screaming. Yeah. I remember the first time I watched the movie pausing it and just like laying down in my bed and being like, oh, I feel ill. How did they do? They had to leave that kid there for a little while in the cold.
Scene,
it just felt so. And the parents swimming out and just
out there or whatever. Like.
It's the woman. It's the fact that you don't see it. She's like swimming right near the rocks, and there's just a wave, and she's gone, and you don't even realize that she disappears, and you kind of look for a moment, and then you're just like, oh no.
I'd actually forgotten that middle scene. I feel like in my brain, I'm like, there's the whole movie, but there's those two bits. But no, there's that third bit. There's that moment, and it's really odd, I feel, because it's like, at first I'm like, is she like gonna help? Is she just gonna watch weirdly? I don't know. There was so many things where I was like, because I don't know. For me, it was like, I'm a spooky lady driving around in a car. Pick up a guy, we go into the darkness, we don't see fully. But then once we've seen the human being popped into the balloon, it floats around like the inflatable man that's been popped, and then you get that blood tunnel, which is the just out of nowhere, the tunnel of blood. That was the one part that was like, maybe I'm gonna quit my job. So I just looked at that shot, and I wasn't like, that's the best shot ever. I was only like, that's a really good shot.
Yeah. And that was the part.
That's the greatest thing I've ever seen. That's the representation of having a body filled with blood get popped and just be the skin under the skin. It's all about skin or whatever. Is it about race? I don't know.
Yeah, cutting to that,
and then just a tunnel of blood. Yes,
line,
but a factory, but like
production line
with like a space one where it's like or otherworldly. It's like a seventh dimension, but a blood tunnel, and just I don't know. Well, I was just flicking through some of the scenes this morning again, just kind of like just hear the musical score, like just been like, oh, and that stuff is so good.
The score is exceptional.
The score is so
adds a lot.
It's unnerving. It's unhinged. It has a lot of. I think Annihilation took a lot of cues from this movie. When we get to the end of this movie, big spoilers for Annihilation, because I have a comparison where I feel like. Fuck, it was talking about.
Yeah. No, like, actually, I was just like, and then as soon as you said it, I went, wow, I've never even made the connection.
I know this is spoiler talk, but we talk spoilers, but
you weren't prepared for
the biggest spoilers for Annihilation, the greatest movie, which we'll have to do one week. But it's like, big spoilers for that. Do not listen more it's the greatest movie. That movie, I feel like he saw this movie and went, it's the greatest 2 minutes of a movie ever. What if it danced or whatever? And I was like,
mimicked.
Mimicked, sorry, not dance, sorry. What if it did interpretive dance? No, but it's like, the we're talking about this before it started. How I was talking about, I had a film teacher years ago who I totally disagreed with. Everyone in my class loved, I hated him. And he was like, setup is everything. So I'm making all stupid gory stuff. And he's like, you'll build up 5 seconds or your 5 minutes or whatever, up to the gore explosion or the visual of it's a monster. Everything before then has got to be exceptional. So the build up makes that moment work.
Yeah.
This movie has the greatest build up to a moment, and you don't realize what it is because it's just awful. It's like a man just suddenly rapes her in a forest, and it's like, what the fuck is happening in this movie? we'll get to that weird twist. I found it kind of fascinating. But it's like, once we build up to then she's had sex with a guy or tried to, and then she's been like, oh, don't touch my fake
Grabs
skin.
the lamp.
Yeah.
And like looks.
And at first I was so confused, but I was like, oh, I guess she's just making sure that her skin body hasn't torn.
No, I think she's trying to. She actually, I think, wanted to have sex with that guy, and when he tried to have sex with her, I mean, she's just like an alien underneath.
Yeah.
So there is the outward appearance of genitalia,
but there's nothing. Yeah.
He tried to penetrate her, and there's just a black alien there.
Yeah.
So then she
freaked out.
Grabs the lamp and looks, and I think realizes. Oh.
Part of me felt like, I don't know. This movie felt like, did the alien, like, does Scarlett Johansson know she's not a human? Like, that's what I kept feeling like. The movie, she's like looking in the mirror, like at her face. I'm like, is she like looking at being like, am I super pretty? Like, what's going? I don't know. I was just like, what is like when she's looking at them? I'm like, she's
an alien learning to be a human.
Yeah, and then she's realizing it's not going to work.
Well, you don't know what sex is if you're an alien. Like they don't have the same reproductive organs that we do. So she didn't know what the process of intercourse would be.
Yeah, but she'd figured out. I don't know. There's a bit of things like she's figured out how to get. So she needs humans to eat or whatever.
Either she's eating them or she's feeding the mothership. Oh, I don't know which it is. Okay. Yeah, it's one or the other.
So, and they're all as a group doing it. Because it was weird how it was like the motorcycle guy was like the cleanup crew.
Yeah.
Because I was like, are they partners in crime? Is he chasing her? Is he... What? Because at first I liked that he like... I don't know. Yeah. Because that scene at the start, in the middle or whatever, when she walks, she like hits the guy with the rock and drags him away and drags past the baby. And I was like, oh my God. But I actually thought they were going to linger on the baby more to really punish her. It was like a shot of the baby with her just slowly, you know, but it was just kind of brief. I was like, oh. But then we cut back to the baby, as you said, like all snotty. And he's just going, and you're like, oh, well, he's going to go get the baby. He gets the jacket. I'm like, but if you're implying the baby's getting washed out to sea, the jacket's getting washed out to sea. You don't need to, it doesn't matter. But I like that he was covering stuff up, but not like, I don't know. I feel like he would have just picked the baby up and like thrown it in the water maybe to actually like make sure it was dead. Because if he's cleaning up, that's what he's doing, right?
I suppose so.
But then it's like,
he must be.
Is she like a weird rogue alien that's not doing it properly then, or is he trying to?
She is that after meeting the disfigured guy. I think that's when she goes rogue because that's when she ditches the van and just starts walking.
Do you feel like that moment is like earned by the alien? I don't know. I feel like the turn in the movie kind of like, because when the movie ended, I was like, oh, this is what the movie was about. I guess I don't know. I feel a bit confused about exactly the. I don't know, because for me it's like, this is an alien who uses women's looks to lure men, and it traps men. It's like men's worst fear. Like a girl's like, hey, you want to come to a drink with me? Like that. Well, this must be a trick. They must want to kill me. Yeah. Put me in a giant like oozing tube and funnel my blood into a spaceship or whatever. It's like, that's like the fear that goes in your brain. You're like, okay, well, I'll just say no. But then it's like, I don't know. So she's like using like sexuality that way. And it's kind of like, I don't know, sad and twisted, and like, I don't know, that guy's like, he's so excited. It's just like, and the whole movie, I like know something's gonna go wrong. So even the first time, I'm like, I didn't know what was gonna happen, but it's not good. Like, yeah, it's luring in the bad way. But I really didn't think the film was gonna be like twist. Some guy fucking tries to rape her because, I don't know, he sucks and she's an attractive woman that he wants. I don't know. It was just such a weird like flip that I was like, I don't know if
it works. Well. What the movie's trying to say, or
yeah, I don't know. It's like this alien got. I feel like the alien got punished for like being
learning empathy.
And like, but also just the. I don't know. It's like kind of ironic, but I don't know if it fully works for me. That like, you know, her looks and everything. She's like a femme fatale, but then she gets that twisted on her and attacked, and like, yeah, I don't know if that'll work. Because when it was happening, I was like, is he an alien?
Oh.
No, I don't know. It's just all so weird. And then his reaction to the alien is the greatest thing ever. But then his reaction 2 seconds later is just to burn it, which I feel like was really quick. I don't know. It's like, because he's raping her and it's all gross. And I just remember being like, what the fuck? I guess she's going to go crazy and alien and kill him. But then just the weirdest scene happens. And this is what I'm talking about with build-up. It's the greatest thing I've ever seen, really. And he tears at her. And then he's just like, and he stopped. And I just remember thinking, what's happened?
Yeah.
Has he been possessed by her? Like, I was like
And
thinking,
then she kind of crawls away and you see her back.
and it's the back where you see weird tears on it, and he's like, and it's just like this spinning shot of him, and he's like, and he just runs away. And I just remember being like, what the fuck is going on? And then behind, and then she's walking away, and it's the shot where the tree is kind of covering her, and you see him in the distance running, he trips and falls. I watched that scene so many times. Just looking at that one shot where he's in the distance running away, there's a tree blocking her, and she's like holding up her face as if it's like falling off. And just everything about it, it's such a weird thing to suddenly realize, like, oh, she's looking there, all these things, and then I feel like she locked into this position. And then that head pull off is like, so when I saw that, my first thought was like, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen. I just, like, as soon as the movie was over, I replayed that like 50 times. And then, like, it dawned on me why I found it so satisfying. And it's because in Game of Thrones, sorry, I'm going to mention it every time about how much I hate everything. In Game of Thrones, if you haven't seen it for some reason, pulls her face off. Everyone's tried to forget it. Yeah. And she pulls her face off, and it's always a bit of a hokey effect. And every now and then, they get like a bit of the chin off the chin, and like just little aspects of it that just work really well, where it's like, oh, yeah, that looked like it was your face, but then you just ripped it off. Mission Impossible do it every time. I don't know why. Just Tom Cruise the best. And I'm just in, I guess. But they're just like, and you're like, oh, but that was a person's face. It's so cool. And I love that. This was just, it's so good. It's such a basic, simplistic design, like the exoskeleton of a human, but just charcoal. Yeah. Like just a thick, deep, rich black.
It looked still a little bit like Scarlett Johansson too, which I like.
Yeah, it's
like when you look at the face.
It's like, yeah, I don't know. It
worked so well. The texture, you could feel it.
The whole thing, it just felt like they painted a skinny lady. That's what I kind of got. And the way it peeled it off, but it wasn't like a peel off and now I'm the monster. You know, like coming at you, bro.
Like the Thing, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or like.
Which is what you are expecting. I remember having that when you said, "Oh, is the alien going to go crazy and kill him?" That is the expectation, but at no point in the movie, like these aren't those type of aliens. No, their trap is, the slow burn. You know, lure them back to the decrepit building, and
that's our spaceship. Oh, now you're saying like that'd be their spaceship, and it's some weird. It's just I don't know.
So we see the inverse of the black chamber where she lures men into with the pool. At the beginning of the film, we see the white area, which I'm assuming is inside the van, or that's only because we see the motorcyclist
pull it in the van and then they could drive to a spot.
Yeah, so I guess the movie kind of blurs the line between what is surreal and what is reality and what is the film presenting to us. Like,
is this otherworldly spaceship, whatever the fuck it is that an actual black void? Or is that just what we're seeing? And is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I think it totally doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
Because like when I watch it, not for a second, the whole movie did I even consider the idea of a spaceship. The idea of a spaceship being in this movie to me sounds kind of stupid. So, but when you say it's a spaceship,
because of the lights, that's all the
exactly. As soon as you said that, I'm like, the first shot of the movie is like, I just remember I started the movie. And as soon as it was like black for like a minute, and I remember like, do I have to get up? Do I have to get up to check? Because you know when you play something but you've double clicked it or something. Yeah, but it's so black for so long that at first I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to get up off my couch and like click play or something. And then suddenly this music came in, and there's this dot in the middle. And you know when you start something, you're like, thank God I watched this at nighttime just for the atmosphere and mood, because often that doesn't.
So really it goes red, and your whole if it's night, the whole room is red.
It was as soon as it started with the music and the little light coming in, I was like, I'm gonna love this. I'm gonna fucking love this, and I really really did, except for like, I don't know. As we're talking, I was like, no, there's a lot to like sync on, but a bit of my issue was like, is this just a look, I'm a charcoal black woman alien? Because I don't know. I mean, that's enough. Honestly, that last 2 minutes is the greatest thing in the world, and I'm glad. It's so good. It just I also found it really fascinating how it's like, I don't know. It's not like all aliens are like, we're gonna kill you and eat you, but it's like this alien is like a killer, and it's like all it's doing is like preying, and it's like a predator. It's a monster. And then at the end, it's just like scared and alone and confused. And I'm like, it's like put on this body to hide. And then it's like, I don't want to be in this body. It's like people are going to try and rape me and shit. It's like, she's just running through the woods at the end. It's just so like, I don't know, man. Like even when she takes the clothes off and stuff and just hold it in the face, which looks so good.
And looking back at it,
yeah. And she's still blinking and kind of moving.
Yeah, but it's, yeah.
It's just flesh, just like wobbling, I guess, like the way flesh would. I don't know. It was just so fucked. But then like that shot where it's like from behind, and then he's just like
burn it.
But just when he poured the gasoline, I don't think I've ever been more shocked at like just I was like, and it's just on fire. And it's just dead. And then the motorcyclist is just in like he was just like out in the wilderness being like it reminded me of Yoda. It's like dropping his like wooden this little stick thing. He's like, oh no, a disturbance in the force. One of our boys has died. You can sense it. And I make it sound like I don't like it. I really like that idea that he could like he sensed that it had died or she'd have died. I don't know, man. I feel like the vagueness of it all is so cool that we can discuss but then I'm like, who the fuck are those words? I don't know. I feel like maybe it's too vague for me in some parts just because it didn't. Yeah, I don't know. Part of me feels like I should love this movie more because of those like 2 or 3 moments that are just like honestly the greatest things I've ever seen. Like as soon as her back is peeled a bit, it's it couldn't be better. I could not want a better movie. It's just shots, composition, music, just everything.
Visual effects, all of it comes together.
The special effect, it looked like Scarlett Johansson fell on the ground and then ripped her whole skin off. And then like a charcoal woman, it just looks so real. The reason I mentioned Annihilation, we're back to Annihilation spoilers. I feel like, because the alien comes off and it's like, and it's looked like unnerving, like spine tingling weirdness where I'm just transfixed at the screen, but so weirded out and kind of like almost don't want to look at it. And this movie it wasn't too much. I was like, it's done, it's burnt, it's dead. It's barely in the movie. I feel like Annihilation, he just went, I'm going to have a weird charcoal lady, but it's going to mimic and it's going to be on screen for way too long.
And it doesn't work quite as well, I guess.
As a visual effect?
Yeah.
But
it does. It works in the movie. I'm so in by that point.
It's a worse visual effect. The effect in this, I don't think is a visual effect. I think it's a person. It looks real to me.
Yeah?
I don't know, man. I watched like...
The eyes are black.
Yeah, I think you can visual effects. I was looking... Is that one shot where it's holding it and it's like that close-up?
I think the whole thing's a visual effect.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's... They you know the metallic ball they use to get lighting. They got their lighting reference. They got everything perfect. They probably had a practical thing on set,
and then they
did all of it perfectly, and then they just textured it, and they went minimalist. You know, like it's got features, but it's all.
It feels like a statue you see at the store with just like a weird touch to it to make it feel real.
Yeah,
like
I think there's motion capture. I think I really want to go and look at the visual effects reel, which I didn't do, which I should have.
I was thinking of doing it, but I kind of wanted to come into it being like, there's a man submerged underwater and he's naked and then he pops like a balloon. I don't care how it was made. The visual for me felt
I almost don't want to know because it works so well. The
enough.
Documentary aspect of the film, which is very, very minor now that I remember it being such a big part of the movie the first time, after I watched it the first time, I guess because so much of the press surrounding the film, discussion surrounding the film, kept mentioning the fact that it was, they did it for real and they were hitting high-def cameras in like the car console.
So when you say high-def cameras, it's like...
but they're not now.
No, but it also does feel like a bit high-defer than it should be. In my brain, but then it's like, is that just my brain being like, reality TV documentary on the fly shit? Because there were bits where it's like, the background's like color corrected or whatever. It doesn't visually feel like they color corrected it to look real. And then I love that then you go into the most stylized black universe world, spaceships, whatever. Call it spaceship. It's really striking. Like the contrast.
Yeah.
The juxtaposition. But they're fucking like, it really is awesome. But then, I don't know, part of me was just like, kind of bored with the other stuff. It just felt like, I don't know, it's like, we often talk about like, when you're talking about weeks ago? I don't know. Predestination.
Yes.
And you were like, there's nothing going on. I also feel like...
it's not about anything.
Yeah, I also feel like maybe... I was thinking about that recently. I feel like I kind of side with you. I don't know if that's... I feel like it is kind of about like self and I don't know. It's like... I don't know. I feel like there's stuff in there with fucking yourself. You know what I mean? Like, there's something in there. You know? I don't know.
Almost is.
Not that they... enough to maybe chew on properly, but you at least taste it and like, you know, like a sample of wine where you taste it and spit it back out or whatever.
Predestination. Predestination is like a really, really good hamburger.
That's the greatest thing in the world. So it's the greatest thing ever invented. That's
no
what you're telling
nutrition.
Me,
no nutrition. It's like a desolately produced meat patty with almost no meat, fake cheese. Like
the Krabby Patty from SpongeBob.
Yeah, and you buy it and you're like, oh, this is so good. But what was the other film we watched with it? Why can't I remember? Predestination.
What does that mean then, Kieran? What does that mean?
Oh, it was Incendies. Incendies is
I didn't actually know. I just wanted to I was just waiting for how.
Incendies is a delicious grass-fed steak, and
I just love it's like it's gross and disgusting. Use your hands and a knife and fork for how delicious it is.
and rosemary covered roast vegetables and sour cream and a little bit of lemon and that's
some really nice roasted potatoes.
But sometimes you just want a burger, and I get that. And Predestination is a really good burger.
You wake up, you've had too many drinks, you just want a cheeseburger.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's the question.
Suddenly I was like, wait, are we talking about Under the Skin? Because you're wrong! Oh no, we're talking about that.
I actually would like to do a full discussion one day on, does a movie need to be about something?
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I don't even know how we tackle that, but it's a question I always go back to. And I feel like... Because the best movies are about a thing.
I think is... Actually... I was thinking about this while watching Under the Skin, especially in the bits that I was a bit like, give me more. Because alien gets attacked, has to reveal skin and holds it and it's like, I don't know, it's like the alien's like half there. It's almost like, I don't know, it's like it's naked, it's like taking its clothes off and then it gets attacked. It's so ironic.
Yeah.
I don't know, it is exactly what it should be because it's like it lures men and they take their clothes off and they're like, no, I'm underwater, and then she gets the opposite where she's like, I'm on fire.
Yeah.
Twist.
I didn't even.
I'm now real. It is there. I don't know, something about him running off because she's like an alien, and then he runs back and burns her. I don't really buy that.
How do you write something that's impossible? No one's ever been in this situation, so you can only do what you can imagine, what you can think in this situation, the experience that you would go through. Much like trying to rape an alien and then realizing it's an alien.
He wouldn't do that. Well, aliens don't exist, so there's no context for... Yeah. No.
What do you do? What do you do if this impossible scenario occurs? They probably went through, draft after draft, trying to figure it out, and went with, all right, let's do the most thematically
and it's the opposite of what she does, which is
which I never.
And I only just realized now that she's holding her skin, which is the clothes of Scarlett Johansson, and the men are like taking that. So they're kind of because honestly, when I was thinking about it, I was like, what's like the most pathetic, useless kind of moment you could be in? And it's just like just after ejaculating in sex, and you're kind of just there. You know what I mean? Just kind of holding yourself. Yeah, and that's what it's like. It's like, ooh, and then it gets lit on fire, and it's just like, ooh, I'm on fire, and it's useless. It's like in a position where it's like getting caught in the shower. That's why the Psycho scene, apparently, I don't think it's very good. Fucking shit movie. No, we'll get to that. We'll get to that one day. I've never rewatched it, but the idea of being attacked in the shower though is like, because you're vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because like just being naked in a non sexual way is very vulnerable. Well, it mostly can be.
Yeah.
Depends on everyone, but like, I don't know. I love so many things about this, but I just feel like it's like, why are the aliens doing this? Yeah, we don't need to know, but it's like, there's not a lot of driving force in this movie, which I think is my biggest issue.
It's just to eat, yeah? Because there is the scene in the cafe where she gets the cake.
It's like a 45-minute shot where the fork comes up. Like, it's just... Because like for half of it, I'm like, there's so much tension. And then I was like, eat the fucking cake! Oh my god, you are spending fucking so long. But then the build-up is that she eats it and then she spits it out. And it's like so funny and weird. And then
performance is... That might be... the best bit of performance in the movie, just for how much I believe how disgusted she is by a delicious
cake.
Yeah. Like the most moist, perfect looking bite of chocolate cake.
Corn where she goes into it and it's slow. It's got the boom.
That's acting. that is fucking acting, you know?
But where are these aliens in terms, like, have they just come here? Then how do they know to put the skin on? Like, there's just so many little things where I'm like, if you're going to keep it this vague, I'm kind of left a bit vague at the end. Like, I don't know. Honestly, it's like, obviously the whole movie's going to build to that reveal, but if you take that out and the movie just ends with her being raped and murdered and it's like, do you get it? I'd be like, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. As we were saying, what does the film mean? What is it about? It's about an alien woman
Should it mean?
that kills men and then she's killed by a man. That's it. That is so simple in the way. What she does to people, the exact thing happens to her. Twist. Gotcha alien. But it's... I don't know. Is it about like self-discovery and this? Because it's
the
like...
loss of innocence.
Yeah, like coming into your own body, like being comfortable in your own skin. I don't know. It's like there's so many things with being caught under the skin, and just like when that skin had gone and popped and was just floating there, and it was all like because it's floating there at first, then it kind of cuts into a tighter shot, and you're like, oh god.
There's also the sound of the crunching and dissolving really adds a lot. Yeah,
it's yeah, it's like and the build as he kind of expands, and you realize something's gonna happen, and then it's.
The first time I watched it, I said I would never watch it again.
Why?
I felt so sick.
The baby bit?
So much of it. I don't know.
It's disgusting. Oh, you know, like so I love
so many elements
shit.
of it. Really just made me. I mean, I the first time I didn't enjoy it at all. You know, it feels invasive. It feels like, oh my god, just back off, movie. Like. Let me breathe. But this time, I think having gone through that and then being so prepared for that again and then not experiencing any of that the same way and then just really thinking about, okay, what are they presenting here? What is this film trying to say? What are we doing? Also, partly, you know, watching a movie for this podcast, it becomes a different process of watching a movie than just throwing a movie on and watching it. I think you've mentioned it before, that knowing that you have to come here and talk for an hour and a half, and you have to digest it.
Give me enough to think about, and it's not even that, but you realize almost every movie gives you so much if you let it.
Absolutely.
And then maybe that's it. I feel like so many of these movies we've sat down and been like, I don't realize, you know, like how much there is to sink my teeth into, and then when we come here and talk, and then I'm like. Oh, I think I'm done. About an hour earlier. I'm like, was there enough? Was it just... But then you always say, which I feel like I disagree with, but I like it anyway. It's like a movie's 3 great scenes and no bad ones.
Yeah.
Something like that, right?
Yeah.
Which I like the idea of that, but then I'm also, that just fundamentally makes me angry. It's like, no, it should all be good. Every fucking second of it should be awesome. Because that is what some things are. Like, there's not a second of Mad Max that's bad. There's not a second of, like... I was going to say Game of Thrones. I'm like, of the first season of Game of Thrones. It's like, some things are so good all the whole time. But then again, that's not fair. You know? I'm not at 100% all the time. It's not fair to expect other people to be bringing that up.
And it is just good film. 3 great scenes, no bad ones makes a good film. Not an exceptional.
Not the best. Yeah, no. Yeah.
You know, Mad Max is something else.
It's
Fury
the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Fury Road. The other ones are fine. Like, in a way, I'm like, oh my god, they're like amateur school films in comparison. Like looking at Road Warrior is like looking at Christopher Nolan's student film where he's really small and the big boot hits him. And you're like, it's fine, but it's a bit quaint, don't you think? Just because you see what they can do, and you're like, well,
what is it called? Something bug?
Doodlebug?
Doodlebug.
Yeah, I think so.
It's such.
Just recently thinking about watching Memento again, because I've never rewatched it, and then it suddenly occurred to me that I almost don't want to. I think Memento is one of those films like Birdman, and can't think of another one right now, but it's just like I had such a thing watching it, and it's just so burnt into me, like A, B to C. I haven't, and it was perfect, and I just don't need to visit that world again. I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Whereas
Predestination. I think I'd put in that list now. where the first.
Oh, and because of a second watch, it's now not a film that you see the.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I don't even think that Birdman would have that effect to me, but I'm afraid it might.
Yeah.
Because yeah, that's interesting. Oh my god, yeah. Can you think of any other films you've watched and been like, damn it, I should have kept that in the nostalgia pile? So I feel like the last time I watched, I ended up going like, nah, I see why I like this. Like everyone fucking, when I realized the internet existed and that like I could, just see what other people think of films, one of the first realizations that everybody is wrong is seeing the Rotten Tomatoes score for Pirates of the Caribbean 2. It's like 20 something. That's wrong. It's like 80. It's an 80. Not that Rotten Tomatoes means anything, but it's just an interesting number. And oh my god, I actually had something else. Then Pirates came into my brain. I said it, thinking I could stay and get rid of it while keeping this other thing, but I've forgotten.
People don't give Pirates 2 enough credit for being so different to the first one, and I think it's just been boiled down to its lesser parts, which are
those lesser parts. Tell me, because I'll tell you why you're wrong.
Johnny Depp on a big wheel sword fight.
That's the best part of the movie.
But people bring that up now and they go, "No, it's dumb because he does that."
I love
and
it so much. That's actually the greatest moment in anything. The bit where they're all on the beach and they're all yelling and they're all fun. They're like, "I want it because of this," and the other guy's like, "Fuck you!" Everyone has such strong motivations to get the MacGuffin. It doesn't even feel like a MacGuffin. It's such an element.
Yeah.
It's someone's heart. It's a character. Should we do Pirates of the Caribbean 2 next weekend?
Yeah, I think we should.
I would actually love to rewatch it. It's such a good movie.
I feel like we are the only people who love Pirates 2 and 3.
So, wrap up for Under the Skin. Any final thoughts, feelings, theories, queries?
Visceral, engaging, mood, peace. I can't believe that I am so unaffected by seeing Scarlett Johansson naked.
That was literally one of my first thoughts. I'm like, is this sexy? No, this is... Why is she so unsexy? It's like the facial, I'm not going to pretend I can act like this. It feels like it wipes... Because you'll be talking and the emotion will be wiped so quickly. And it's just so spooky. And maybe now with the knowledge that it's like a charcoal lady underneath.
It's almost impressive that they got the most beautiful person on earth. And made this thing that it's like, this is the only time you can ever see her nude. And there is nothing sexual in that sense, in that pervy, I guess, people, like, you're not gonna just throw this on to fucking...
No, it's such a weird, it's like...
You know why she said yes to it. She was like, if I'm gonna take my clothes off for a role, it's gonna be this. Because there's actually a purpose.
Feeling where it's like, it's confronting. It's like generally confronting. It's like, oh my god.
Just jumping back to Pirates of the Caribbean briefly.
Oh yeah.
One thing that the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie does well that Lord of the Rings doesn't do well is the second chapter and the ending, the Empire Strikes Back style. Second act lowest point ending. We don't get that in Lord of the Rings.
Because in the book, Shelob is...
Well, the second act is the lowest point. You leave the second book thinking Frodo's dead with Shelob, everything's fucked. Helm's Deep happened in the middle. That's all kind of resolved. And we're at the lowest point. And they don't do that in the movie. And I think it might hurt the trilogy. Okay. They might have been better off...
Because 2 and 3's endings are the same.
Yeah, it's all on an up note.
Yeah, like when they win the battle, they're like, it's all good.
And the third movie, the up note isn't quite as good. But then you get all that stuff at the end that kind of redeems it. You get all the character tie-ups that you don't get in the second one. But I feel like the second movie would be stronger had it ended on the classic second act note. But next week...
Pirates 2?
All 3? Trilogy? Or just 2?
No, fuck it. Let's do the whole thing.
Do the trilogy? I don't want to do 4 and 5 because I
know they suck. Yeah. Well, our review for that is here. They suck. They really fucking suck.
There's nothing really redeeming.
I like the idea of vicious mermaids, just like that, like evil sirens. But I really feel like the scene is kind of like. We're mermaids! Spooky mermaid! It's like, I think the idea of it, I almost like
someone fall in love with a mermaid or something.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's all the bad stuff. I was trying to just nugget out quick, good stuff. Yeah. Like what actually, You know what does work? Concept only, not the movie. Is the idea of stripping everyone away and following Jack. I think that in concept.
Yep.
Concept only.
Yeah,
not the fucking movie
no.
Stranger Tides. Which I feel like the fact I just remember that movie's name, it's like, there's got to be other information in the world that'd be better to have. It's just like Blackbeard, but magic, a boat, the bottle in a ship in a bottle, mermaids, they're evil, spooky. It feels so like, because I feel like the first ones are like ghosts, skeletons, treasure, you know, it feels more like, yeah, this is what you do. This is what you mix to get this pirate movie. And then Jack Sparrow happened to be like weird and campy and, you know, one of the most iconic characters ever, just created by Johnny Depp just coming on set and being like, I'm going to do this weird thing for no reason.
I'm going to be
a washed up rock star.
Yeah.
But then we already by the third time they're like self-aware enough to get him in as the dad. And I think that's like so close to the line. I also think that's kind of, there's parts in 3 I feel like really like, you're teetering what 4 and 5 will just be flat out the whole movie.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I can see the world disintegrating around it. And 5 is like an embarrassment. I remember when 5 starts, I'm like, this isn't even bad. I'm okay with this. And then Jack Sparrow like appears and he's just like, so not in the movie. And he's like, and I was just like, oh, he really doesn't care anymore. I've never felt someone care so little on screen.
And then you read the articles about him having the plug in his ear, getting fed the lines.
And you're like, that is literally what I felt like I was seeing. And you're like, that is sad. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to get the whole Johnny Depp thing, but that's really...
Well, he's been redeemed now, so...
That's what I mean. I turned on him because of that news. And I was like, fuck him and Johnny Depp and the Pirates and get him out. If they do another Pirates, do you want him in or out? And I'm pretty sure they want Karen Gillan as a reboot. That's what they want to do.
Go back to 1 and make him a supporting character. Make him like a third supporting character. Like, he doesn't show up till Act 2.
And he doesn't even finish Act 3. He's out.
Yeah, you know, like, he's the guy that they go to get information from. You know, that's what he should be. Like, in a little cabin somewhere. Like, he's like Calypso is in the second one. He's the history. He's the guy from the past.
Would you like if they went to a pirate cove and he kind of replaced Keith Richards' kind of king character?
Sure.
And he was like a deity. Or the opposite of that, where he thinks he's the deity of this town, but it's... And you're like, who could this be? I don't know. I would love to see him in like the tiniest cameo, like a 21 Jump Street style, where he appears for 3 minutes, and you're like, oh my god, he's in it! Ah! And then he's gone. You know, like that. Not where you're like, 20 minutes where he's in it. Like, and I'm like, really save it. I feel like it'd be... Can you imagine if it was like Blade Runner 2049, if they did 2 hours of the movie and then they just gave it a 15-minute scene and then he's just gone again?
Yeah.
And like really give it like the weight and make you go, hey, we all kind of feel a bit weird and sour about this. I feel like the whole Johnny Depp world thing kind of muddled it a bit for me. But that first movie was, he's probably the most iconic movie character of our generation growing up. Like, what's another one? Gollum? I don't know. Like, what? Like, for me, it's like Pirates. Like, I walked around in, like, year 7. Like, I like Jack Sparrow. He's just the greatest thing in the world. I love him.
Like, that was...
I was obsessed with him as a kid. I love him so much.
Every generation. Like, my grandma loved it. Everyone at school loved it. My mum and her friends loved... Like, everyone loved the first Pirates of the Caribbean. So...
It's such a good movie.
Alright, let's leave it there.
Yeah,
we'll keep talking about it.
Oh my god, we're just going to talk about when he's rewatch it.
Do we do like an end?
And that's the spoiler talk.
Spoiler Talk is produced by KCBN Studios and Space Kraken Media.